A second-generation Filipino-American, K.M. West writes stories for people who want to believe in magic and like having their hearts broken. Mom, wife, and general hobby enthusiast, she spends her time balancing her work as an IT professional, gym owner, graphic designer, and author. Take us away, KM.
Hi guys. Yeah, okay. So that's correct. Hi, I'm Kim West. I wear a lot of hats, but I also have a really big head, so it works out. Today I will be reading from my debut novel, which is Wild Things Will Roam, and that is an adult dystopian fantasy. So, psychic Ander Pharaoh failed to fulfill his prophecy and the world ended. 15 years after the bombs have torn through civilization, Liv, who is a 27-year-old woman raised in the aftermath of the collapse, is on a pilgrimage to find a priestess whom she believes can help her locate her missing brother. Now, Ander has received a vision which informs him that Liv is, in fact, this light that he's been told to follow. So, as they trek through the American Southeast, which is now known as the Shadow of Appalachia, they encounter unexpected horrors. In this chapter, the group, which also includes Anders' surly brother, Lash, and Liv's adoptive father, who is kind of the humorous Carrion, they are en route to Atlanta to find this priestess. So, this particular section is told from Anders' point of view, and Ander is our resident daydreamer. Ander. The size and weight of Liv's bag made climbing through the bridge hull akin to being born. Squeezed and bruised, Ander emerged on the bank behind the rest of the group. In the distance, a water tower read North Carolina Finishing Company. Its twin bore a skull, the words High Rock sprayed over it. Welcoming, Carrion popped off, skulking behind Lash into the roadside saplings. I can take my bag back now, Liv whispered. Not a chance, Ander smiled. There were holes in his confidence. He hid them with the patch of other people's company and stitched them closed with wide grins and thin reassurances. When left to his thoughts, however, he couldn't help but pick at the loose threads, and one particular thread always hung free. For most of his life, it caught under his nails and weaved into his clothes, a constant reminder of a destiny he was meant to fulfill. Without knowing his course, he just had to hope he would rise to the occasion. When that worry tickled at him, he usually just tied it off and found the nearest body with which to distract himself. But now that thread had a name and a face. She smiled at him through warm brown eyes. Almond skin encapsulated his entire destiny. The silent lines of Liv's lips, her face, and the curves of her lashes formed a great poem foretelling the epic which they must undertake. Liv was also a person. She grieved. He wanted to give her space, but the intensity of her presence set his mind on edge. Empathy was his way in. Overt charm would only slow the process. Bricks scattered everywhere. The titular finishing company had long been destroyed, though they were too far beyond the radius of the bombs for that to be collapse issue. The word civilized floated distantly through Anders' mind, followed closely by the images of the blasts. Tiny explosive splashes rippled across the landscape. It had come on so fast and so violently that there was no time to prepare, no time to register, no time at all. Or maybe there was, he reflected, just no one thought it would ever actually get this bad. Those months before, people were angry, angry with a brutality that had grown ferocious for its years of repression. That last day before, he sat across from his grandmother and brother in their camper. Their excitement palpable as she spoke, Purry Dodge had said, "You have to let the light guide you." Ander, pop on up there and see if anyone's home, would you? Ander startled at Lash's voice. The water towers loomed above them. Apparently, he'd lost himself in thought. Me? Of course you. Who else? Anders swallowed his offense. The hole in his esteem threatened to rip open, but he distracted himself with silver linings. His brother was an inherent antagonist, but his gruff only made Ander appear more pitiable, more endearing, he hoped, as he stripped both packs and laid them at Liv's feet with a knowing wink. As he turned toward the towers, he blinked. For a moment, he stood as the proud proprietor of the North Carolina Finishing Company, staring up at his mark on the world. A few seconds later, Ander was back in his body, realizing that there was nothing in this world named for him. The rusted metal ladder groaned under his weight. To brave daring feats was a pharaoh forte, and Ander offered the group below a glimpse at one of his best angles. He swung haughtily from the rungs, releasing a hand to wave at his friends. As he returned his hands to the ladder, he pretended to let his feet slip, instead supporting himself like a human flag. While he hung there, he blinked and found himself staring into the face of a woman who favored Liv. Her smile was broad, shaped like a half moon. "Oh, my sweet Cheshire cat," she said. "Are you hungry?" Blink. Cold rungs stung beneath his hands. Carrion and Liv clapped softly. Showboating, yes, but people loved a good show. Maybe even more now that entertainment was scarce. Ander bowed his head, scanning her distant face for signs of approval. Her smile lifted him, the remaining 85 feet of climb less daunting. His brother's face frowned. "Leander, watch out." Ander glanced up just in time to see the spear descending upon him, releasing his grip to fall the 15 feet below. Air sucked through his lungs as his feet struck the ground, limbered joints pulsing under the impact as he tucked and rolled. His shoulder throbbed. The spear had glanced him. A small amount of blood welled from the wound. "Well," Lash said flatly, "was anyone home?" "I don't know if anybody's home," Ander answered, dusting himself off, "but their spears definitely are."